kind of a weird comment, but here we go. Here we go. We're getting into our next game. We're getting into our fresh series as spawning in the bottom left-hand corner of Persephone. We have the South Korean Protoss player. We have the blue Protoss representing Streamer Zone. It is NightMare. And spawning in the top left-hand corner, we have as opponent, we have the South Korean Zerg player. We have the red Zerg representing Team Falcons. It is Rogue. Here we go. And if you're in the chat, you know what time it is. It is Gamba time. Predictions are open. Place your bets as to who you think will claim the series, who will claim it. As coming into this, Rogue is going to be the favorite player, but NightMare, he has been improving very quickly over time. For those that are unaware, NightMare, he retired. He retired earlier this year. He did retire to compete in Deadlock. He was playing in Deadlock. He joined, I want to say, Pulse Esports, or he joined a different team. Did compete for a time, and did relatively recently return. I say relatively recently, I want to say it's been like 2 months, right? It's been like around 2 months since NightMare did return. He rejoined Streamer Zone, and now he's back. I say 2 months, so it's been like maybe a month and a half, maybe. Like it's one of those two. So again, relatively recent. And NightMare has been improving, he's been leveling up, getting back into his form. And we'll see how he compares to Rogue. We shall see. From here, standard opener out of our Zerg player. Likewise, NightMare going for a standard opener as well. When it comes to Rogue's preferred style in this matchup, we do often see a lot of all-ins. We see a lot of all-ins. I mean, as we do see from all Zerg players in this matchup, to be fair. So we expect all-ins, we expect aggression. There are certain maps where I would say that Rogue, he might go for a very tech-heavy style. There was a period in time last year where Rogue was going for just very tech-heavy, very macro-oriented, very defensive, maybe that's a better way of putting it. Very tech-heavy, very defensive play, where Rogue would basically rush Lurker. He would rush Lurker, he would slow the game down with Lurker, and then max out, and then go for mass Nidus play, right? Nidus play with a Lurker Hydra. And try to snowball out of control from there. But that was last year, right? It's been quite some time. Since that time, we've seen Rogue again go for more aggressive styles instead. So we'll see what he goes for. We shall see. For now, Stargate. Stargate opener out of NightMare. Back at home, everything's looking normal. Stargate into a third base. We'll keep an eye on the Twilight Council timing for NightMare. We'll see if he goes for an earlier Twilight Council or a later Council instead. Likewise, Rogue across the map. We'll keep an eye on his gases. We'll keep an eye on his tech if he goes for an earlier Evo Chamber, Roach Warren, or Lair. Or even Baling Nest. Shall see. NightMare, he has been known to mix it up a little bit in the mid game. Has been known to mix it up. What is going to be hunted down. Third base is being taken. NightMare, he's holding up on the tech. There's the Evo Chamber, that's indicative of +1 melee, indicative of Link Hydra. As generally the Zerg player will be skipping their Roach Warren here. Generally. Ooh, earlier Twilight Council, okay. Does go for the Twilight Council. This is earlier than usual. So the question becomes, is this Glaive Adepts or is this early Blink? We have the answer. So we have the Forge on the way. This means Glaive Adepts are off the table. The Forge is typically indicative of something like Charge or Blink, not Glaives. Glaives does not benefit from that upgrade. Not enough. Safety Roach Warren, so it is going to be +1 melee, but safety Roach Warren out of Rogue. Rogue, he has yet to confirm what's going on, and it is going to be Blink. So an earlier Blink timing here out of NightMare. Templar Archive is going to be on the way. Ooh, we are rushing tech. So we are going for something more tech heavy from NightMare. We're sure he's getting Blink, he's getting +1, fast Temple Archives into Storm. So NightMare is going to be skipping Warp-ins. Focusing on those upgrades. Getting High Templar ready. And just walling up. Okay, so he's just fully walling. Just trying to fully wall off here. NightMare, he's turtling up. Again, defending with the bare minimum because he rushed into Storm. And into Blink, and into +1. So just a really greedy style here out of NightMare. Tech-wise greedy. It is risky just because, again, like his army's very... I mean, his army's non-existent. He has three adepts. He has 3 adepts. Just now warping in 2 stalkers. But so far he's getting away with it. Storm is almost done. And Rogue instantly, as soon as he sees what's going on, go base. This is what you need to do here. The Zodiac player, now that you've recognized, okay, my opponent is turtling up as hard as possible. As you can see here, stasis traps, another expansion. Like NightMare, he's just being purely defensive. You have to take advantage of that defensive player and go for the goal base, right? To take advantage of the map control that you have and be as greedy as possible to punish the more defensive play of your opponent, to punish them for just relinquishing map control. So Rogue should be the first to max out. And the question becomes, oh, okay, it looks like Ling, Bane, Hydra. We have Overlord Speed. Overlord Speed is typically indicative of Dropper Lords, which means the goal is not to go into Hive Tech. He has the option if he wanted to go into a Lurker Den, into Hive, into Hydra, Lurker, Viper, but that is not the case here. Lings, they get caught out. Rogue, he's going to be maxing out on a lair-based army instead. So it's going to be what looks to be a lair tech all-in. Purely maxing up on Ling, Bane, Hydra. And NightMare's playing with fire right now. Remember, NightMare, he is taking up into Sky Toss. NightMare's army isn't really what it needs to be. So NightMare, he cannot push. He should not push. Here come the Dropper Lords. So we have 6 Dropper Lords morphing in, getting ready for the Doom Drop into the main. NightMare currently has no idea. But the Prism will spot the Dropper Lords. Yeah, crucial moment for NightMare. Does see the Dropper Lords, does spot the Hydras. NightMare knows, and here comes the Warp in. So this drop should fail. Storms are ready. And Rogue, he's gonna send it. Storm Zone. High Templar, they 2 pull away. So far, good control. Drop is denied. Ooh, 1 Templar goes out. 1, 2, 3 Templar gonna be falling. Bailey's a crash in. But NightMare's holding. He did lose all the High Templar though. He needs some storms. Without storms, the next wave is gonna break him. Remember, Rogue is remaxing. Remember, Rogue has the gold base. He's not taking up into Hive. He's just remaxing and rebuilding on Ling, Bane, Hydra. And we need to warp in High Templar soon. Otherwise, the next wave, it's going to be too much. How many Templar are 2? There's a 2 Templar with the army. This is... It doesn't look like enough. There we go, drop into the main. Bit of an awkward drop, but does unload everything. Ling Bane's rolling in. There's one more Storm. Ooh, Storm does connect. Storm connects. Rogue, he's running out of steam. He's running out of army. Very nice stasis trap. Stasis goes off. A drop is held. Holds against the drop. And NightMare, he defends. And now NightMare is outscaling Rogue. The all-in has failed. The all-in has failed. Rogue now at 10, almost 10:30, he throws down Infestation Bit. Sorry, 10 minutes. 10 minutes for Infestation Bit here by Rogue. This is Rogue admitting that he cannot kill his opponent. He's like, ooh, like this is clearly it's not working. Clearly the all-in has failed. So now it's time to tech up. But this is a late realization. And as he realizes this, we already have carriers being morphed in. So NightMare is ahead. NightMare, he is ahead. And he's looking to get further ahead as well. The scary thing here is that NightMare, he's been defending and he's been down like 80 supply, but now he's catching up with a better army, right? It's like this is where the soup lies, right? The soup has been lying. Rogue's army has been very cheap army, and again very inefficient at times as well, especially against the storm, especially against the splash damage. Letting drop into the main. Gets a couple of probes. Main army rolling up. Rogue still desperate for damage. Working the main base. There's the first storm. One storm connects. Another drop into the main. Oh! Let's go for the drop lords. Gets one, gets two. Should get all the drop lords as well. Failing Roma into the mineral line, and doesn't get in. And the lurker den is just about to finish at what, almost 12:30. So the 12:30 lurker den, which means now we can begin hive upgrades. Again, very late upgrades, very late tech. NightMare can soon just A move across the map. I'll be honest. He can soon A move. There's going to be lair tech lurkers to defend against it. And not even that many. Now, okay. Good start. I was going to say the best that Rogue can hope for here is to buy time with run buys. And so far, gets into the natural. Lings it into the natural. Lings they get into the main base. Lings towards the third. He needs to buy time. Like, it's all about buying as much time as possible. Ooh, Zealous take it across the map. Zealous they get across the map. There are queens to defend. There were queens to defend. Lings they borrowed in the main. It's going to be 10 drones going down. Lings they have borrowed. And NightMare, he's still stuck at home. He's still stuck at home. Now, what's scary about this is that NightMare, he has been refining his army, and what does he have? It's very Stalker heavy. It's very Stalker heavy. I would say that's a negative thing about this army. He's got a decent amount of Storm. He's got some good Archons. He's got Carriers, no Tempest. So this army is not as good as it otherwise could be. Tempests are superior here when it comes to gaining value over time, when it comes to being efficient. Carriers are good to brute force it. If the goal here is to just push and to end the game, Carriers are better at that, as their DPS output is higher, especially when moving into like a Hydra-based composition. My concern, sorry, that I was getting at is it's a very high Stalker count, very low Immortal count. There's no Immortals here. So Lurkers, especially as we are finishing the Hive upgrades, Lurkers, they can defend. They can hold the line. There's 11 Lurkers. Immortals are built to tank and built to close the gap, but there are no Immortals here. So it could be a little bit risky. Meanwhile, speaking of risky, Rogue, he moves out most of his Lurkers. He can't afford to lose this. He cannot afford to lose this army. Lurkers do borrow. Lings move in towards the left-hand side. And we're diving with the Lurkers. No! Get out of here. Losing 1, 2, 3. 3 Lurkers go down. Lings, they do deny base. But this was an expensive counterattack here from Rogue. I mean, he will defend. Now, thankfully, once again, thanks to the Ling run by, the Ling counterattack, NightMare stays home. NightMare stays at home, and again, he still has a really high carrier count. As Corruptors build up, this is going to be less effective, but there are no Corruptors yet. Oh, and the Lurkers, they face check. The Lurkers should not be on the front lines. They need to be behind the army, but here comes NightMare. We spoke earlier that NightMare, he should be able to A move, and I will say that enough time has passed where we've built up a high lurker count. Much higher lurker count. And again, carriers aren't really built to deal with this kind of siege position as well. One carrier goes down, second carrier goes down as well. Takes on 2 carriers. And I'm hoping we stop replacing with carrier. Like the time has come and gone for carriers. Ooh, that's once again trying to force a way into lurkers. And it's in this position where Tempests are superior in every way, where Tempests can siege upon the spores and the lurkers from a range, from a distance. Carriers can't do that. If carriers move in, they expose themselves, and that's where we see abductions, that's where we see the spores coming into play as well. Oh, lurkers do clump! And now the storms! Storms, they shut down the lurkers! The lurkers were clumped up! Oh god, the Copium Microbial Shroud. Not like this. And NightMare, he is breaking through that front line. Trying to at least. Does go for the Parabomb. Crafters do all go down. And NightMare, he should still have enough. Yeah, you can just keep going. Not the cleanest fight. And not the cleanest fight here. High Templar does fall. Once again, carriers are exposed. Ooh, NightMare rebuilding carrier. Okay. I mean, NightMare, he might just be far enough ahead where it doesn't matter. Hey, gets a base. Gets the expansion. Taking his own. And NightMare, he survives with a two? Jesus, he survives with 2 carriers with a handful of Archons. Still not making Tempest, which is hurting him more than anything, to be honest. Just because it means that he has to burn through his bank. That much faster, I should say. Home Rogue still just building up his lurkers. And there's no rush for NightMare, to be honest. All that NightMare has to do to win this game is deny the gold. Which, I mean, the gold doesn't even matter anymore. It's already mined out. Jesus. It's already mined out. It's also running to lurkers. There's 10 lurkers so far, soon to be 15. I mean, it's been a while since I've seen a composition like this, like a low tier composition like this. Trying to push into lurker spore. Like NightMare, he's making it more difficult on himself. Going into carrier, but it's fine. I mean, will it be? Is this still fine? Once again, trying to brute force his way through. Abducts 1 carrier. Again, like, this army is just more vulnerable to abductions because there's no Tempest. It's just more vulnerable. Building more Vipers would be the way to go. NightMare pulling back. What are we remaxing on? NightMare, he has no product. Like, he's not making anything. He has money. He's on supply blocked. NightMare, he's looking a little bit stunned here. Like, what's the plan? I want to see Immortals. I want to see Tempest. We're still not warping in. He's warping in Zealots. NightMare, he's stuck. And there it is. It took like 10 minutes, but we have finally bitten the bullet. And finally NightMare, he's no longer being as stubborn. He's like, you know what? fine. He's like, I guess I'll make him. It's like, Papi, we could have started this like 10 minutes ago. It's like, fine, I'll do it. I'll make a good army. Okay. Okay, NightMare, we got there. He had to think long and hard for that decision as well. Did not come by easy. It's like, I guess I want to win. I guess now his army, it still has refining to do for sure. As we mentioned, like we need a higher immortal count, need a higher tempest count, need less carrier. Otherwise, NightMare, he's just been trading so inefficiently, pushing into these lurker lines. At least the Archons can support the Tempest from Corruptors. By no means was I saying it was bad to have these Archons, but right now the problem isn't the Corruptors. The problem is the Spore Lurker. Like this army is not built to push into Spore Lurker. I mean, we've been seeing NightMare try and plummet in supply every time, right? Like it's just been very, very inefficient. Now he's getting into tectonic destabilizers. He's building up a higher tempest count. As Rogue, he has successfully slowed the game down to the point where he's catching up. So Rogue is catching up. He does reestablish a new base. Or does establish a new expansion. True. We spoke earlier at the beginning of the series, if you recall, how Rogue, his go-to style last year was to go for this kind of endgame, right? Was to rush into tech and then get into a mass lurker kind of Spore, Hydra Lurker Viper, or Lurker Viper composition. And he's got there. Didn't get there the way he used to, just because he was all in for so long. But NightMare and his unwillingness to get into Tempest for so long did allow Rogue to recover in this game. Because Rogue was behind, 100%. Like he was in a really rough position. But Rogue, he's caught back up. Now Rogue, he's getting a greater Spire, getting into +2. He's slowly building up those upgrades. And again, thanks to the Spore Lurker, he's able to buy that time. Thanks to the fact that, again, there was no Immortals, no Tempest for so long. Now that NightMare's built up his Tempest count to 6, he can start to chip away at this army and try to chip away at the front lines. That is true. That can soon begin. I would still prefer if he would... I wouldn't even mind it if he killed his own carrier, to be honest. He killed his own carriers, started making Immortals. I think he only has one robo, right? Yeah, only one robo. And these Nidostorms, they're just giving Rogue so much time, and now Rogue, he's taking another expansion. Oh, NightMare's moving in, okay. Now, where are the Corruptors? They're here in the center. So Corruptors in the center, which means that NightMare, he has time to get a couple of volleys off first before this army responds. Here they come. Corruptors are coming. He gets one, he gets two. Oh, not just one. Gets one Spore. Carriers able to come back at home. Corruptors now in position. How many High Templar? 8. They're all spread out. They're all spread out across the map. Storms are going to be crucial when it comes to zoning away the Corruptors. Archon positioning as well. Hey, we thread the needle. Zealots, they go right down mid. Right down mid. The natural, nice burrow on the queen. Tempest trying to move in. Okay, you have to be so delicate with these Tempest. You poke in, you pull away. Just poke in, pull away, rinse and repeat. You do not want to get caught out by the Corruptors or by the Vipers either. It's a much slower approach, which is most likely why NightMare... Oh no! The miscontrol. Yeah, it does miscontrol, does rally into the army, doesn't lose anything, but does take a lot of hits. He killed his own rocks here. Sorry, he knocked down his own tower, so the pathing was really awkward. Carrier's getting caught out. Ideally, you don't want to lose them for free, but I mean, this will force NightMare to replace these carriers at least. So 2 carriers go down. Here comes Neural. Here comes +3. And we do see that NightMare is replacing the carriers with more Tempest. So it's going pure Tempest, Archon, High Templar. That's a lot of Archons. Archons, I mean, they can tank okay if they spread. Revelation. Oh no! Yeah, bit of miscontrol there. Does leave the Oracles idle. 1 Oracle goes down. Now let's go time for the Tempest. Tempest, they got to move in and kind of wait. No, no! Does leave. Jesus, so careful. You have to be so careful with this Tempest. Just ensure you can always kite back to your Archons. Lurkers, they get within position, they get within range. Carrier almost thrown away. Yeah, really awkward movement there from NightMare. It does look like he's less comfortable with this kind of army, not gonna lie. Oof. Once again, that's to pull away. So the by running into Hydras. Very long distance mining. We're getting to the point where we're running out of resources on the map, right? It's like center base, mined out. Top right, mined out. Rogue, he has 1 base, center left, and another base here, so he's on a 2-base economy. Now, the scary thing for NightMare, because of how he was expanding, NightMare's fresh bases are spread out, right? Like, for Rogue, they're right next to each other. For Rogue, he saved these 2 expansions for the late game. Meanwhile, NightMare, he's expanding bottom right and center left. He's spread out. So the early mid-game, like, expansions and how we did decide to expand is going to be hurting NightMare. Just because his economies are centralized, oh, the Archons, they do veer too close to the Lurkers. Oof. And once again, a bit of miscontrol here from NightMare. Whole position is your friend, fam. Got a whole position the hell out of those Archons. Oof. And it's get spotted. Corruptors, they attempt to go for the dive. Nice pick up with the Tempest. Once again, like the Archons, they keep moving with the Tempest. But the base goes down. Regardless, like hiding the control with the Tempest was good enough. Takes down the base. NightMare's moving in. He's moving in, going for the last mining base here for Rogue. Again, these were it. These are the 2 bases. Rogue, he had to defend them, and he wasn't able to. Going into mass ultra. I mean, again, the lack of immortals, true. We spoke about it earlier. Lack of immortals made the ground army difficult to actually push into lurkers here as well. Ultras, they can try to trade well. Ooh, they do catch a couple of Archons. A couple. Now, I feel like NightMare's done it. NightMare, he has done it there, but finally, he throws down 3 robos. Immortal production has finally been... We got there. It took 30 minutes, but we're getting into the perfect army. We're almost there. But if you notice, Rogue, he's broke. Rogue is broke. Rogue, he's long distance mining. He needs these 2 bases. Without these 2 bases, that's game, right? That's the win condition for NightMare. All he has to do really is deny these bases. Deny these bases and maintain his own. That's all he's got to do. Doesn't have to chase, doesn't have to push into the natural or into the main base, or doesn't have to properly engage with the main army. All the NightMare has to do is just deny those expansions. That is how he wins. He's mining out center left, center right as well. Now, what is the most scariest? What is happening here, and the most dire for Rogue, is that NightMare still has another base. He still has another fresh base that he has not taken yet. And specifically, we speak about this all the time, because of how Persephone is, because of the layout of this map, there's no way that Rogue can ever take that expansion. He's going in though. Bungles do catch some of the army. Ooh, brutal stasis. Yeah, stasis goes up. The Archon count is barely there. Yeah, the Storm does zone. Zelsa charging in. And there are 4 Archons. Yeah, there are enough Archons. Corruptors, they go for the dive. They do magic buffs. And Corruptors, can they take all the Tempest? Up. It looks like they cannot. Yeah, they cannot. Whew. The 4 Archons on the ground, it's barely enough. They support, they defend. And that should be game. That should be game. But as we were getting at, specifically on this map, because of the specific layout, there's no world where Rogue ever takes this expansion. So the fact that NightMare doesn't have it doesn't matter. Like, once he finishes mining, then he can expand and freely just take another fresh base. Another fresh base here for NightMare. GG gets called as NightMare. He will take the game. He will take a lead in the series. GG. Whew. GG, well played. Again, a very, very long, very intense game 1 here. For the most part, NightMare, he was in the driver's seat. My biggest concern for NightMare was his inability to tech up, his unwillingness to tech up. If you remember, Rogue was all in. Remember, Rogue, he went for a lair tech all in where he maxed out twice with purely Ling Main Hydra, and he failed to kill. The moment that he failed to kill his opponent, he fell behind. He fell behind. He did eventually catch up though. He eventually caught up, and this is partially because of NightMare. Because NightMare, he refused to make Tempest for so long in that game. He instead was maxing out with Archon Carrier, and because he maxed out with Archon Carrier, when he eventually decided to move out, he saw, ooh, there's a line of lurkers, a line of spores. I can't do anything. It allowed Rogue to recover, to bounce back, to take his half of the map. But specifically here, this map is brutal because of the limited bases. You have very limited expansions here on Persephone. As I mentioned, because of the layout, you cannot take your opponent's expansions, unlike on some of these other maps like Leyline, where more of these bases are contestable expansions instead. And with that, NightMare slow and steady did take it in the end. GG. GG, well played. He eventually got into his Tempest. He got there, was working towards Immortals towards the end, as we are now getting into game number 2, and spawning in the top right hand corner of Leylines, we have the blue Protoss player, the blue Protoss representing Streamer Zone, leading the series 1-0. It is NightMare. And spawning in the bottom left hand corner, we have his opponent, we have the red Zerg player, himself, representing Team Falcons. It is Rogue. CranKy Ducklings, you called everything. I mean, I've said it before that we're a little bit quote unquote lucky in the sense that we cast more StarCraft than anyone else out there. So there are definitely certain trends and certain things that players are very much tendencies. That's it. The tendencies that players have, like with Rogue. The Rogue is a very stylistic player for sure. NightMare as well. Yeah. But here we go, we're getting into the next game. Now, getting into ley lines, what I will say is that on this map, there are more bases that you can take yourself, and specifically because these bases, or because all these expansions, they all actually push towards each other, you can actually take your opponent's bases, right? You can actually fight for your opponent's bases. Like these expansions here towards top left and bottom right, they can belong to either Protoss or Zerg player, and with good enough map control, the Zerg player can actually take more bases than the Protoss to maintain a greater economy, to be able to afford to trade more inefficiently. So ley lines does play out a little bit differently in a longer and later game, as opposed to Persephone, where it's easy to just cut in half. You just cut it half horizontally, and then you're kind of set. But once again, I would imagine that Rogue wants to be aggressive. I would imagine he wants to be aggressive. He wants to be in the face of his opponent. Last game, we saw him go for a layer tech all-in. We could see that again. We could see an earlier 3-base all-in as well. We'll see if Rogue can end the game. Like many players, Rogue, I don't think he wants to go into the late game. He was kind of forced into it last game. Don't think he wants to be there. We'll see where he takes this. Remember to hydrate. Remember to hydrate. So now we do have our Stargate. So Stargate open out of NightMare. Opening up Stargate, getting to Oracle, getting to his third base. Now, last game, NightMare did open up early Blink, but if you remember, he went early everything. It was early Blink, early +1, early Storm, and with NightMare, he was skipping Warpins. He was skipping Warpins and just turtling up on 4 bases. Now, I will say that it should be a little bit more difficult to do that here on ley lines. I would say that ley lines allows for more aggressive builds from the Zerg player. It is going to be a little bit more beneficial here compared to on Persephone. So it's going to be more difficult for NightMare to be that greedy. Or at least it should be. So we're expecting a different kind of build here. We're expecting a more active style out of NightMare, but we'll see. Ooh, as NightMare, he does go for a second gateway before expansion. Okay. Lings, they confirm. That is a much earlier Twilight Council. Okay, you have my attention. Twilight Council gets thrown down. Lings are moving out across the map to try to force a cancel. Oracle gets rejoined. Oh no! Jesus, barely gets away. Oracle does get away. Lings are coming for this round. But Adept should warp in and NightMare should hold. Okay, should hold on here. Losing 2 Adepts so far. Second Oracle there to get across the map, of 4 drone kills in total. The first Oracle makes it back home. And NightMare doesn't lose the base, but he does lose 4 Adepts. Meanwhile, going into the Forge. So far, we have Blink into the Forge, into +1. We'll see if we throw down another early Temple Archives. So far, this is looking very similar to last game. So far. Oh, never mind. Oh, Jesus, that's a gateway explosion. We did not see this last time. So this time, a big gateway explosion here out of NightMare. We have 5 gates on the way alongside the 2 that's already done. That's going to be 7 gates in total. This might be, it's been a while, this might be the beginning of an 8-gate 3-base all-in, where you skip your gases at the 3rd base, you get a proxy 8th or 9th gateway, and you just commit with pure Blink Stalker. Meanwhile, Rogue is playing safe. At Rogue, he does go for a later Eva Chamber into +1 range into Roaches. So he's going for a more Roach Ravager heavy style. Again, a much safer playstyle here from Rogue. Stalkers are warping in. Again, this time NightMare, he's not skipping warp-ins. Oh no! I think he gets in! Yeah, big scout here. Rogue, he gets into the main base. He will see extra gateways. And he will confirm everything. Yeah, he sees the gateway explosion. Here comes a probe. If you remember, what did we say? 8-gate, 3-base all-in. We should be proxying the gateway. No gases at the 3rd base. Here he comes. Okay, here comes the all-in. Now, thankfully, Rogue was playing safe. Thankfully, he was making roaches. That will help. But it comes down to the control, right? It comes down to the blink control. It comes down to the stasis traps. Rogue, he should have the tools to defend. It's all about the execution. As there's a proxy. Last one is done. Picking up a couple of roaches. And, oh, we'll lose one Stalker. Yeah, a bit of miscontrol. One Stalker goes down. The other Stalkers are getting low. Pushing into a concave. But that's a lot of roaches falling. And the control is good enough. Yeah, it's going to be good enough here. So many roaches going down. Where's the Zergling support, by the way? Where's the support? The roaches. There's no support for them. They're going. These are brutal losses. These are expensive losses here for Rogue. Aye, aye, aye. Losing so many roaches. And NightMare, he might just have enough here. He can just blink in. If he wanted to, he can just blink on forward. Chase the queens. NightMare will overwhelm. More weapons are coming. GG gets called. NightMare, who will break Rogue, and NightMare will take the series 2-0, advancing on to the quarterfinals. GG. Whew. GG, well played. Congratulations, NightMare. He will claim the series. Again, this is a very old school build. This 8-gate build that NightMare went for, we saw this a lot like 2 years ago. Like around 2 years ago, Hero was very fond of it. Max did it every now and then, but Hero was very fond of this build back like 2 map pools ago. Then it kind of died off because players got used to it, got used to defending. Here, talking about defending against something like this, unfortunately, it was pure roach production out of Rogue. No Zerglings. Zerglings, they do an amazing job specifically at tanking, at supporting the roaches, at getting surrounds on Stalkers. Again, Stalkers struggle against heavy Zergling compositions because of the low attack rate of the Stalker. They have a very low attack rate, and Zerglings do a great job of just tanking shots, at tanking massive volleys of Stalkers, while the roaches do damage in the back line. Here, it was pure roach out of Rogue. So really expensive losses every single time as roaches were falling and as the Stalkers were getting more value. Yes, we lost a couple of extra Stalkers there in the execution of the build of the all-in, but in the end, GG. In the end, GG, well played, and NightMare does overwhelm, and NightMare does make it through. Let's go. And let's catch up on the bracket. Let us catch up.